Direction was given to our legal counsel. Thank you. Okay. So I think we can move to item number 3, approval of consent calendar. Is there any discussion on the...
Yeah, I make a motion to approve the consent calendar.
I second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 4-0. Thank you. Okay. Now we can go to public participation. If you have anything you'd like to speak to us about that's not on the agenda tonight, feel free. Okay. Thank you. Sure.
I'm Karen Gallegos, and we live on Lind Lane in Paradise here.
Okay.
And we have a private water line and are rebuilding. Have run into issues with the mandatory sprinkler law now, in that we don't have enough pressure to feed those sprinklers. So in looking at our options and what we're going to be doing on that, we found out that policy is currently that the replacement of that line to a bigger pipe is 100% on the homeowner, or those homeowners that are, tied into that pipe. So what we would like to see is that PID, under the circumstances of the campfire and the burden that's been put on all of us, including PID, of course, would kind of take a look at that to see if it's possible to adjust those policies so that PID would take on some of that burden of cost.
I see. Kevin, do you have a comment on the process for them?
So right now, their statement is true. Our policy does state that private pipeline upsizing and maintenance is the duty of the owners of that private pipeline. Just like it was a private street or a private drive is the same exact thing. I know that the board has looked at these in the past and has looked at trying to absorb them into the district based on that they were in good working shape.
Right.
That there was no additional liability to the district for taking those on as ownership. So in prior private pipelines, there has been an agreement between property owners and they're able to kind of lien property, or at least put it as a item on that piece of that parcel, that if someone was to reconnect to that, they'd have to pay their portion of it. Right. Based on that, it's not in an agendized item. We can agendize that policy for next board meeting. Look at it. They could come back and then make their claim and see what the board would like to do with that policy.
How many other homeowners would be affected by this?
The neighboring house didn't burn.
Oh,
So
okay.
He doesn't need it.
So it's really from a certain point to your place. Is that what I see? Okay.
So do you have coverage through your insurance policy for mandatory upgrades, code upgrades?
No, we haven't pursued it as of yet, to inquire with AAA, our owner.
Because there are stipulations in most policies where they may pay for that for you.
Yeah.
So I would suggest looking into that also.
Well, we wanted to, get some more information before we even approached AAA on it.
Right.
Sticklers about things anyway aren't the easiest to deal with. So
That might be a great suggestion, though, to at least start there, and you can still. It'd probably be good to have a letter from you. Wouldn't that be helpful to explain the whole situation? A letter to the board. You can address it to the board through Georgianne here. You can bring it into the office if you want to. Just drop it off or whatever you want to do. But that way we could.
we're well aware that there's many private lines in town, and I'm sure that we're not the only ones that are going to
Right.
you know, be running into this issue
Right.
now with this mandatory sprinkler thing.
Right.
I mean, you know, I'd love to send the bill to state of California since
Right.
they're the ones who open the can of worms.
Right.
But that would probably be a long and frivolous project there, but.
Sure.
So,
Sure. Well, we certainly can take a look at it, and if you send us or give us a letter or something, just kind of describing the whole situation, the APN numbers and all that, the street and your address.
Even if it were to be done, the one homeowner is not rebuilding, he moved to Shasta.
but if he
But
sells,
if he sells, the new homeowner is gonna have to meet that demand.
Right. That's right. Yeah.
You know, and so the only
Yeah.
other possibility would be installing a individual line to our own home from the
Right.
pipe
Understand.
feed.
Yep.
which is.
And that's a
option
big-
that,
Yeah, it's an
you know,
option,
we're
and
looking
it
at
may
as well,
not be
but-
too terrible, but we're investigating that.
Big expense. I understand.
What stage are you at now? Are you in plan check, or are you coming out of the
They're
ground?
getting ready to, well, once we get, fair weather, they'll be shingling the roof.
Oh, okay.
We're at that stage, we've done selected that. And
Okay.
then they'll be beginning with they've done the plumbing, not all of it, but most of it. And so we're at that
Rough
phase
framing.
right now. Yeah, rough
You-
framing, and then they're taking care of some things that need to be.
If you can include all that information for us so we can do our homework before,
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. and
that
so
would be great.
If it were that case, to where we had to go with a independent line up to our home from the street, then perhaps there's some sort of help that we can gain in digging the trench. That would be a big help. And if that were even possible, that would be something to consider if it's doable. So.
What was your street name again? The street?
Lily
Joy
Lane.
Lynn's Candies was before. it burned.
Yes.
Joy Lynn's on Billy Road. Yeah, we're about 2 streets past that, headed towards Skyway on the same side of the street.
What street is it?
Lind, L-I-N-D.
L-I-N.
L-I-N-D. Okay. Thank you.
It's my district. I think that's, are you in District 3? Yeah?
Sorry,
The
I
map
don't know.
behind
think
you?
so.
I think so. I think you're my district.
I think it's right up there. I think Billy Road is. I know you're in Billy Road's below it. I think Wagstaff.
Halfway between
Lind Lane.
Skyway and Clark on.
Yeah,
the
just about even halfway
Yeah.
on distance.
Yeah, I think you're.
You're mine.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for
you.
bringing that to our attention. Okay. Talk to you again. Thank you. Okay. Okay. Now I think we can go to number 5, election of an appointment of officer for 2020.
All right. So I will now accept nominations for the office of president.
I'd like to nominate President Solik to do the second
Term. Okay.
I'll second.
Any other nominations? Nominations.
Nominate Shelby Boston.
Second on the floor.
Oh, so I can't do it?
No, you can, we open up. It's all. We get to open up all nominations. So, but
Okay.
our first nomination is Mark, and our second nomination is Shelby, and we always vote on the first nomination.
That's right. There you go.
So, any other nominations? Okay, I'm going to close nominations, and we are going to vote on the first nomination. So, for the office of president, we are going to have a vote on Mark. All those in favor of Mark being president, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
I guess not.
Congratulations.
Okay.
4-0. Mark is
Thank you.
now the
Okay,
second.
all right. Well, I appreciate the vote of confidence, I think.
Yes.
Thank you.
And so
Nice job.
I'm
Okay.
going to turn it back over to our newly old elected.
Getting older all the time, let me tell you. Okay. Thank you all.
What he meant was experienced.
All right. As long as you're right next to me to help me out here.
I'll
Okay.
be right here.
Very good. Okay, so now we can go to with the appointment of treasurer and.
you got a vice
Nominations for
Oh, I'm
vice
sorry,
president.
vice president. Yeah, vice. Nominations are open for that.
I'd like to nominate Director Boston for vice president.
Any other nominations? Okay. So close it. And then
Okay, well, nominations are closed. Well, let's have a vote. All those in favor of Shelby Boston for vice president, say
Aye.
Aye. Looks like it, 4-0. Thank you. Okay, now we can go to treasurer and secretary. Do we have any nominations for treasurer?
I'll nominate Ross to be the treasurer.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor of Ross Gill being our next treasurer?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 4-0. Thank you. Thank you, Ross, for accepting that. Of course. Okay, and now for secretary.
I'll nominate Georgianne. She's done an outstanding job.
Second.
Very good. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 4-0. Thank you very much. Thank you, Georgianne, for being here.
And all you do to support the board.
Yes.
Here.
Okay, now we can go on. Recovery process status update, and I think Michael and Colleen might be speaking on this.
Did you want your walk-up music or something?
Yes.
Dun, 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 dun.
There you go.
Cough lozenges.
Should hit.
Thank you. You're not supposed to be over.
I can, there's light enough, I can lift it.
So,
There you go.
Yes. We practiced earlier and it worked.
and it worked. There you go.
All right. Good evening. My name is Michael Lindquist. I'm going to be standing in for Sammy Cater, who's usually up here giving the presentations tonight, and Colleen's going to join me in part of the presentation for you. And we're going to be talking about the water supply recovery programs that we're working on. So about public communications, we were at the last community meeting about a month ago up at the church talking about where we were with progress. And we're going to continue to do meetings. We're alternating between the community meetings and the board meetings to provide information. And also, it'd be important to point out that we're continually updating the PID website as new information becomes available. And their customers are always encouraged also to come in, and they can ask questions through customer service, either through the phone or come in. So we're going to be talking about two things tonight. We're going to be talking about the first project we're working on, which is the standing structure and main testing and clearing program. And Colleen's going to talk about our service lateral replacement program. So the service lateral testing program that I want to talk about is really about getting customers who have standing structures to what we call the coveted letter, which is lifting the water quality advisory at their structure, which is really PID saying with supreme confidence, we are delivering potable water to your meter. In order to be able to send that letter to somebody, what we need to do is we need to have confidence in the reservoirs and the treatment plant that it's meeting all the standards. We also need confidence that the water main network getting from the treatment plant down into those neighborhoods are in compliance. And really, right now, we've shown, and it's continuously been, that those aspects of the PID system are in compliance. The next step we need to do is test the water main in front of their house, adjacent to their house, and the service lateral, which is the pipe from the water main to their water meter. And to do so, what we need to do is let the water stagnate in their service lateral at least 72 hours. That's the most accurate way to characterize the condition of the pipe. We analyzed, and we also take a sample from the main. We analyzed those samples for a full suite of volatile organic compounds. We do a quality control check to make sure that the lab was doing the work that they said they were and it's all correct. Those results go to a water quality committee, which is made up of PID staff with they can lean on some experts' opinions about if there's anything unusual going on. And only after that long process will PID authorize issuing the letter lifting the water quality advisory to a customer. If we do find that the pipe is contaminated, their service lateral, PID's policy is to replace that pipe. Once we've detected that there's contamination in there, we don't typically further test. We just replace it with a brand new pipe. And we kind of joke about that because we buy benzene-free pipe. They're going to be good to go. So about the stagnation of the service lateral, it's absolutely critical about stagnating the water in the service lateral to accurately characterize the condition of it. The EPA did a lot of good science. All of our experience shows us by letting the water stagnate, if there's any contamination in the pipe, it desorbs into the water, and then we accurately know what's going on with that pipe. Now, by stagnating it, we need to turn the water off to the customer. What we normally do is we run a hose from another source to the customer so they have water during that stagnation period. There is a potential some people can do without water, usually a 5-day period, which is long enough for us to get out there, set it up, stagnate, get back out, and turn the water back on. So if we can sever them for those 5 days, then we get that stagnation period and test them. We only do that if the customer is well aware of that ahead of time and gives us approval to do that. Primarily, we rely on the crews going out. They clean up the meter. They run a hose from another source. They make contact with the owner, get it all set up. It's out there for about 5 to 6 days, depending on how we can schedule sampling. We come back, pick up our equipment, and move on. So sampling the water from the pipes, the samples are collected both from the service lateral. We also, at the same time, take a second sample, which represents the main. So now, when those results come back, we have confidence in what's going on in that service lateral and the main right in front of the house. Also, that main sample is one of our indicators to understand, is the system still staying clean? It's another reason why we take that second sample. And when I put up the graphic of these main line samples, you're going to see basically Paradise is all tons of green dots. As we go around, we also like to not just start at the top and work our way down in the system. We go neighborhood by neighborhood in a slightly random fashion. So these mainline samples are giving us every week another snapshot of the entire system to make sure that no contamination is popping up from somewhere or it's not moving around. And our data has shown that once the system was in compliance, it has remained in compliance. The samples, when they're collected, they follow, just like if you watch CSI, those crime scene shows, it has a chain of custody. There's signatures at each way along the way, so it's traceable where those samples went, all the way to the lab when those results come back. And we're following strict standard methods of the analysis. Once it gets to the lab, only state-accredited labs are used to analyze the samples. They're doing that full suite of VOCs. Results are reported electronically back to us, and we have, Colleen, can you tell us how many?
280,000 individual results.
280,000 individual results so far. And so getting it, I can't get that right if I was doing it on paper, so everything's done electronically to reduce any errors. To further that, we have quality control, but through an independent group, checking the results to make sure that things are going correctly. And lastly, now that we've collected all this information, it goes to this water quality review. And each individual location, they literally go customer address. And it's approved because sometimes there's extenuating circumstances that will cause, it'll come back from the committee to my group. We're not comfortable yet. We need some more information. We get that in line. We can come back with that. So it's not like we put all this data into a bucket and just say, well, the bucket looks clean. It's every individual address is checked through this committee. And only after they approve it does the water quality advisory get lifted. And there's a copy of the coveted letter that PID's been sending out for months now to customers saying, we have thoroughly tested the system. We are absolutely confident that we're delivering potable water to your water meter. So a little bit about how this all happens. The most important thing is staffing. And currently there's about 13 full-time equivalent staff working on this aspect of the recovery effort. About 9 PID staff, 3 Waterworks staff, 1 other because of the quality control. I'm trying to round up a little bit and I don't count the lab people because I don't know I don't know if it takes 10 people to run these samples or one, but that's kind of a little bit outside my purview. And what I want to emphasize is there's a lot of people working a lot on this because it's super important to the community. So I took a snapshot of what's on the PID website about the current service lateral testing map, and you can see all the places we've been. Some of those green dots, they're so close together, there's multiple green dots under there. And the next graphic I wanted to show is our main testing, which every place we do a lateral test, we do a main test. I'm going to flip back and forth a couple times. You'll notice we fill in a lot more places with other main tests to make sure that the arteries in the system were in compliance and are staying in compliance. So what does the data tell us right now? So what I want to point out in this graphic is for the standing structural service lateral test, we're about 75% done. There's 1,556 about standing structures in Paradise, and we're 75% work through those, testing their service laterals, and 96% of those have come back in compliance. There's only a small percentage, but I know it's a small percentage, but even if there was only one, we still feel that everything we're doing is super important because it might be yours, or it might be one of, it doesn't matter which customer it is. Every customer matters. And so we're out there to make sure that when we're done, that there's this absolute confidence in the quality of the pipes and that the water is good to go. If I go all the way over to the other side of the graph, we're 86% complete with testing main lines. We're down to small diameter dead end mains in areas. So we're making good progress on those. And in the middle section is the burned structure testing that we've done. So parcels where the structure was destroyed. And we've fundamentally stopped testing those because we found with a pretty large sample about 54% of those service laterals are damaged. That's enough effort. We stopped that a while ago because now we're focused all of our effort on people that have standing structures and getting them tested. And we have enough data moving forward for funding things in. If somebody had a question of how many are burned parcels, we have a really good data set. But now our entire focus is standing structures, both businesses and residences. We try to mix them up because we know the community thrives when people live here and when there's a place to shop or eat. So we try to focus our effort on both those.
Michael, real quick, before you turn that graphic, just one thing to point out also is on the standing structures, we have 60% that are showing some form of defect. Those we are claiming damage on. So even though we're lifting the water quality advisory at this point, we are going to claim that those are damaged service lines, and those will eventually be replaced for those individual homeowners through the FEMA process. Just wanted to kind of point that out.
And maybe you're going to get to this, but are we still on target for the standing structures to be completed and 100% back to potable by March? There you go. I read your mind.
Funny you should ask.
Overachiever.
We made an absolute commitment to being done. It started by the end of March for all standing structures, and we've revised it to be taking our last sample at a standing structure by mid-March, and we're on track to do that. If I go back to that picture of the staff, everybody is completely on board with this. It is a little scary to make such an absolute deadline, but we think it's important for the community because a lot of what we're doing is, I know we're doing a lot of water testing and other things, but really it's about building confidence back in the community's water system. So we've set a deadline and we're going to make that deadline. And so by mid-March is when we intend to be taking essentially our last sample of a standing structure. And so far we're right on track. So I wanted to show a little bit, a graphic of what it looks like now for all those letters sent out throughout Paradise. The months ago it was very exciting, the first 20 letters that went out. That was a huge accomplishment. Looks even better now, all those blue dots up there. But we're not done. There's still standing structures up there that need blue dots, and we're going to get there by the Middle of March, we'll have them sampled. And the goal is work very quickly, that last couple of weeks, to get those letters out. We do recognize, I'd be remiss of saying that there might be a very small handful that were just incredibly difficult or complicated or extenuating circumstances. And if we have not gotten to those, every part of the team will be working on those that we didn't get to, that very small fraction on those last few days. We'll be working on those. So for the progress on standing structure clearing, we have biweekly meetings, this committee, that they get all of this information. So far, 857 locations are currently cleared and have been sent letters. 170 are under evaluation. So that's bringing us up to 1,027. So likely within a week or so, 66% of the standing structures will have received their letter. And one of my big goals with field crews is we try to jam up that committee and make them look like, oh my God, we've got all this stuff we need to do this week. So keeping them as absolutely busy as possible. So that concludes my presentation about the standing structure and the lateral replacement. Colleen's going to be talking about the service lateral replacement program update, which is really a reflection of if there was contamination or if it was a burn parcel.
Good evening. I'm Colleen Boak with Waterworks Engineers, and like Michael said, I will be giving you an update tonight on the service lateral replacement program that we've been kicked off now for about a month. So let me give you an update on that. As a reminder, so this is the contract, the project that we awarded about a month ago, and the scope of the project is to replace 650 service laterals by May of 2020. It's a short-term force augmentation for PID staff in order to get past the backlog of need to support the rebuilding of burn structures, standing structures where contamination has been found, as well as temporary housing. As I mentioned, the contract was awarded to Sutton Enterprises back at the board meeting on October 23rd, and we did begin work on November 12th. The work started obviously with mobilizing, bringing the materials and the equipment out to the site and getting going with USA locating dozens of sites and getting those roadways marked and the locations for the service lateral termination points marked in the field as well. Followed by potholing those locations to find the mains and the connections of the service laterals at each location. So each time we dig in a street or on the side of a roadway, we're finding something new and different, and we have to get a handle on how to deal with each one of these configurations that we find. So over the last month, there's been a lot of development of processes. Each project or each project location, so each site, each home, is touched by PID first. They go out and mark the roadway and mark the location for the lateral. It then comes to the contractor to go out and USA have the rest of the utilities in the area marked and pothole that location and then complete the work. And then it again gets touched by PID at the end to reestablish interim water, make sure that that customer has interim water established and get that back physically hooked up so that the water service is there and functioning again. So it goes through these stages of PID, contractor, PID, and we've been working really closely amongst our team members to get those processes worked out, making adjustments to kind of smooth those things out, and in large part, learning each time we open up the roadway what's there, what's common in the system. There's a lot of theoretical understanding of what the system is comprised of, obviously having been constructed over a period of time from a lot of different materials and conditions and ages. There's a lot of variety that we expected to find, but it's always an educational process to dig and see what's there. And so that's been really great, the communication between the contractor, the management staff, inspectors from Waterworks, and also from PID's crews has been enormously helpful. We have obviously weekly project meetings where we discuss, hey, what obstacles did we find this week that we can smooth out? What things can we improve? How can we communicate about this better? So there's been huge leaps and bounds over the last month and even through the holiday to start to make real progress and kind of kick into gear the production rate that we're hoping to see going forward. So we're also obviously coordinating with the town, I get daily updates from the town regarding building permit processes and inspection phases. And so that is heavily worked into our coordination efforts as well. So to date, we have 20 laterals replaced. That's as of today. I changed out of my boots and came in here. We've been out there today in the rain replacing some laterals as well. So work continues despite weather. Obviously, we have to adjust a little bit when we have things like snow. We have to pull plates out of the roadways so they can plow and do some coordinated efforts like that. But everybody's really committed to keeping going even in a little bit of drizzle. There are 60 more laterals that are currently in progress. So that is at some stage of the progress, either they're being located, being potholed, being hot tapped, or the laterals being installed, or they're being backfilled and hooked back up to interim water. So quite a few that are in process. And definitely we're starting to see that production rate kick up. We got 5 yesterday and another 3 today. So we're really happy with the way the progress has come over the last month. There is a feedback loop with customer service for your constituents if they have questions. Customers have questions about when their particular address will be replaced, or if they have a concern with their building permit stage or how close they're getting to final. We have encouraged them to contact customer service, and when they call in, to please provide their building permit number and their most recently completed inspection phase, and those emails come directly to me. So I take that information and I update what I have from the town on a daily, and I get daily and weekly updates from them. But we supplement that with direct customer information so that if we have somebody who is going to final inspection and we can scoot them up the list and get out there quicker, we definitely want to know that and make any adjustment that we can to be able to address their needs at that time. Obviously, we want to make every effort to support those builds and not hold them up. There are going to be circumstances where it may be that that main hasn't been cleared yet, or it's out of water because we're making some infrastructure improvement with, PID's crews have to do some work to that main to get it pressurized again, or we potholed their location and found a particularly challenging situation. There may be a handful of cases where we aren't able to get the service lateral replaced prior to their scheduled CFO, but we are remaining in constant contact with these folks and definitely aware of that and want to be reachable so that we can do everything possible to rectify that and get that taken care of as soon as possible. The contractor has offered from the beginning to be able to adjust their staffing levels to ramp up production to whatever point that we need to be able to move this project as fast as we can. We obviously have to be able to support it. Like I said, it goes through these phases where it touches PID staff as well. And we need to be able to balance all those efforts so that we're not holding people up or obviously paying for time that we're not getting production out of. So there's a balance point between the staffing levels on all sides of the team. But progress is definitely being made, and the processes will continue to be adjusted and streamlined, and production rates will be moving upward as we move into January. So we're excited to see how much progress has been made over the last month. We still obviously are on a learning curve and have lots of challenges to learn from, but it's a really good tight-knit group and a good communication path that's going between all of the team members, and so far lots of progress has been made in that arena. So I'm happy to see that. So that concludes my update. Do you have any questions?
Does the service lateral replacement, does it go through that 5 or 6 day testing after it's been completed?
No, as Michael mentioned, once we replace the service lateral, the piping is new. And best practices are observed in installing the piping. So obviously disinfection, all that, it's all clean, ready to go. And those replacements are on cleared mains. So then we're able to, but it does still go through, once a lateral is replaced, it gets placed on a final review list by PID, by the Water Quality Committee, to make sure that there's no reason that we have any qualms or concerns about issuing that potability letter, and also to verify that last step that they were hooked back up to interim water. So we're not sending somebody a letter when they don't have any water at their tap. Obviously, we want to close that loop and make sure that that is taken care of full circle. So that's the last stage before a letter is sent.
Do we still have pockets of town that don't have any water to them?
There are a couple of areas, yeah, throughout town where especially some of these smaller dead-end mains where there is an issue with the main where it's not currently pressurized. And so that list is constantly being worked on by PID's crews, and they're actually making steady progress on that list as far as I understand it.
Yeah, there's a few spots. There isn't any, and correct me if I'm wrong, there's no spot where there's no water, where there's a standing structure at this point.
So to my recollection, that I can think there is one there on a tank right now, but fundamentally, no, those are only where there are burn lots.
Okay.
And
Okay.
the one that has been our biggest challenge is up by Rocky Lane, and I can't remember is it Rocky? Is that the main, or is it off of Rocky? But
And it's a standing structure? on
no,
it?
it's a main line that is not pressurized because it basically got uprooted through debris removal.
Oh,
So it's
okay.
on the side of the road. There is a home that I believe is looking to be built there, and what we're looking to do is put a temporary line above ground to get them potable water while we work on getting the main actually replaced.
Okay.
There definitely are a series of creative solutions that they're taking a look at for these more challenging locations. Just yesterday, there's a build on Ramada that's, the main is not able to serve it in its current condition, and so they put an extra long service line in to be able to support that build in order to address the main further down the line. So
Okay.
definitely as we get sort of down to the last challenges, those tend to be more significant challenges, but they're equally creative in finding ways to solve them.
That's great.
Colleen, are the service laterals going back pretty much right where the
For the most part.
existing one was?
For the most part, yeah.
Because I heard some talk that, with Jim Ladrini, that there's some spots where we want to, maybe there's a preferable location.
In large part, they're going back in the same locations, but PID is the one going out and marking the termination point for
Okay.
each location, so they do have the opportunity to make an operational change at that point.
Right.
If a different location, like in a lot of cases where the meter was significantly maybe onto a person's property and outside of the PUA, they're able to adjust that at this point.
Bring it
And
back
so,
out to the street or
Yep,
something.
there definitely are, there's a stage in the process that allows for those adjustments to be made.
And what about, like, if someone has a building permit and they're building a home and the new home, the water line service entrance is on the opposite side of the lot from where it was originally? Is that in play at all too, or no?
There are a number of customers that have come in and worked with Jim and Pete in particular to request maybe a change in the location of those meters, and I know that those are considered by Jim and Pete.
Okay.
And some of them are approved, some are disapproved as a result
Sure.
of the extenuating circumstances there, but I do know that they are taking those requests and considering them.
That's great. Thank you.
Are the backflow devices being installed around the same time?
Yes.
Okay.
Following each lateral replacement, when they go back out to reestablish, they are replacing the interim water device with a permanent backflow device.
Okay.
And hooking that water back
And
up.
one more question, just so we're all consistent. The 1,556 standing structures, that's including residential and commercial, correct? Okay. That's all.
And it's meters. So
Right.
it's
You can have multiple meter or a master meter.
So some standing structures have 1 meter, some standing structures have 15 meters.
Right.
So we're counting meters. instead of
Not
standing
buildings. Right, okay. That's awesome.
Thank you, Colin.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Okay, great. Okay, guess we're going to, number 7, District Manager Staff and Facility Report Update from Kevin.
Yeah, I'm going to give a verbal. This week has been a little crazy, so I wasn't able to kind of get something in writing. But I'm just going to focus on a few of the things. I think the recovery update kind of covered most of those day-to-day operation type of questions. One thing is we do have 2 utility worker positions that will be vacant, that will be advertising for those. I think they're out. Yeah, it's going to be 2. We thought 1, but now we have 2. So those will be open here now, I believe. Are we advertising now? Yeah. Yes, we are. Yeah. So we put it on our website, and then we informed all of our AFWD workers that it's available. So I believe we'll get quite a few applicants for that. And we also have temporary workers that are under PAD that will probably apply for that position too. So, so we have 2 of those open. The main lift this last couple of weeks has been working through the FEMA claim. We have with FEMA under a 428 ask, which is that one where we're asking for all the money up front. There is a 1-year requirement to have your project obligated, and having a damage description and then an obligation of a project is required. We've put a request into FEMA for an extension of that 1 year. The other issue with the 428 is that they, under our version that we're working under, which is version 3 of what they call the Papa G, you're not allowed to do permanent work before you get obligated for your 428. Under the version 4, you're allowed to do permanent work and still be eligible. So we have a request into FEMA to be considered under version 4 instead of under version 3. This is not an unusual request. We've already done it with administrative costs under this disaster, so we feel pretty confident with that, but we're following up constantly with them on that. We had a meeting with them recently about what will be part of our 428 ask, and we are going to include, we wanted to kind of segregate the main lines out of our 428 ask because of some of the unknowns. We haven't been able to do a lot of investigation of we've done a lot of contamination investigation, but not a lot of leak investigation on our main lines. So we were trying to kind of push that out and just put the main line or the service lines in there, the meters, the meter boxes, and then the backflow assemblies as part of our 428 ask. FEMA is kind of requiring us to include the main lines because they consider that the whole system itself. So we now are looking at, and this will come before the board hopefully in the next week or 2 as a special board meeting, doing a leak detection investigation. We've done it in the past with one particular company that does come out, and they've done leak detection for us in the past. We've had really good success with them based on that if they hear a leak, we drill down, we normally find it. Where we've had other companies that have come out that aren't as well versed in our terrain and our pipe material. So we're looking at maybe getting a contract with that individual to come out and do our whole system. So we could then take that data and include that in our 428 ask, and that would include the whole system as a 428 ask, which would be the service line replacement, which we have 54% damaged. Our meters, which we are trying to claim 100% damaged on that, or at least a percent damage that it doesn't make sense to test them all because it costs more to test than just to replace, which are covered by insurance. The meter boxes, and then the backflow assemblies. The backflow assemblies are not covered by insurance. The meter boxes are covered only to replace plastic, and then the meters are only covered to replace with plastic also. So we're taking the insurance, but then we're asking FEMA for 406 hazard mitigation upgrades to say that this is hardening the system, and we're going to ask for that additional monies to harden the system. The one positive about that is that with a utility or a critical infrastructure, you're able to take your cost to replace as is and double it for hazard mitigation without having to do a cost-benefit analysis. So actually including more into it helps us with that calculation. So there's some positives about throwing all of the main lines in there with our service lines with the meters, because it gets our number bigger, which means our hazard mitigation dollars become larger also. So we're working through that. Sammy and Sheila McGladry from Waterworks is helping us through that. Aptum was out with their 428 experts helping us with that also. And we're hoping to bring that damage description to them in the next couple weeks to get sign off on that. Then we'll have cost information going to them, and hopefully we'll be coming to a settlement on our 428 ask for those components of the system. So that's been a big lift this last couple weeks. going through that and really kind of arguing for the maximum amount of money for the district. So we understand we're making a decision today that's going to be with the district for the next 20, 30, 40 years. But we feel like this is the best decision for the district so that we have the ability to replace as the town repopulates. Instead of having to go out and replace or having to do it within a time period, this allows us to do it within a little more freedom of that time period, and to use our own individual forces to do the work for that. That's the biggest thing. It was brought up that if we couldn't get a leak detection in there, we could take water production as one of our considerations to look at pre-fire water production and per capita usage, post-fire water production and per capita usage, and then extrapolate the difference and come to a leak percentage and then put some dollar figures on that leak percentage. We've done that and the number's pretty large. And so if the leak detection isn't able to meet the time frames, we have that as backup to submit to FEMA for a damage description on the main lines. The money that was, the amount that was brought into that would be suffice to really carry the district forward to help fix the leaks through a long period of time. So, the other FEMA claims, Ross has been working hard on getting those submitted. And then the other one that we're working on is the B-Res replacement. So we met with FEMA again over this. There's consideration on volume, because originally we would want to put 2 tanks in that site and increase the volume from 3 million to 4.6. With FEMA 406 hazard mitigation, they don't like to increase volume. They like to harden the system back to its original state. So we're working with staff and Waterworks to look at what 2 1.5 million gallon tanks would be, and if that would be suffice for us for the future. And then we're also looking at if we could put 1 tank in for hazard PA, which is the public assistance, 406, and then hazard mitigation on the other one. So we're looking at our options on those. And then the other thing that we're having to do is look at putting in maybe a temporary site adjacent to the B-Res to help summer flows coming up in the next summer so that there's an ability for the treatment plant to operate normally. And we're putting that together also for a FEMA claim also on that side of things.
Kevin, wouldn't the second tank be considered to have the mitigation for like the fire flow?
Yes, but under this program, so you have 404 hazard mitigation, which is looking at those type of things, fire flows, expansions, and then you have 406 that's only looking at repairing your existing infrastructure, but hardening it, that mitigating against a damage from another disaster. And so we're kind of working in 2 buckets and trying to figure out how those buckets can work in conjoined. Or do we take the 406 and just put the 3 million back in, knowing that our flows never will be where they were pre-fire, and it could give us a little more flexibility where we don't want as much storage in the system currently because of water aging. So it actually might be a benefit to us to have the least amount of storage so that that our production and our water turnover is more often. So we're looking at both scenarios to see which one best fits where we're at currently, and not just taking, well, we had this designed, so we should move forward with it, but maybe taking a step back and looking at the alternatives to see what the positivity of each one of them are. So,
okay. Thank you.
How big are the temporary tanks? Like if you were to use like some rain for rent tanks or?
Geez, I had that number too.
I was just wondering if you can simulate it and prove the.
Yeah, it was 20
turnover.
It was 22. It was going to be 22 tanks on a site. Let me get that number to you. Oh, you're here. Still here. I thought you left.
You should have left when you had the chance.
It's about 250,000 gallons of storage would really help the water treatment plant be able to operate more effectively for the system.
So how many trucks is that?
About 22 of the large potable water, like the trailers that you'd see, 22 of them plugged together.
That's a significant site.
Yeah, so about 12,000. We've been in conversation with the landowner adjacent to the site to see if there's an option for a lease, and we're working through that.
Cool.
Yep.
So Kevin, real quick on this, on the second tank, if we just go the route for one 3,000 gallon tank with, I can't remember the numbers, the 08 one or whatever, do we have to use the second tank? Is it able to sit empty if you want to keep a low volume available? Or is there risk to the tank not having water in it, or?
No, the tank would be designed that it would be perfectly safe if it was empty. It's just an operational issue that what you would do is drain the tank as much as you could by gravity, pump out the rest, put it in what maybe it's called rest of decay, so it's just sitting there nice and clean. And when it comes time to want to use it again, you recommission it, take certain tests. So it's not an uncommon practice where summer and winter water usages are so different in a municipality or a water purveyor to use little tanks during the summer. An advantage of having two tanks is if there is some kind of catastrophic failure with one, you still have half of your storage available. So it's kind of a good option for a lot.
There you go. I'm an expert here. Hazardous tree removal, we're working through the county and through the town to be included in the hazard tree removal from the state standpoint, so that we're not having to take that on as our own PA project, that the state would come in and take our hazard trees. We've already submitted all of our property records to the county and the town to include them as adjoining, so the adjoining properties next to our facilities would be included in the state program for tree removal. So all of our roads and all of our tank sites, office building, treatment plant would be included in that project.
Including the garden.
Including the garden, yes.
you.
But that tree's not damaged by fire.
But it's sick.
It's sick, but we might
It
take it
really,
ourselves.
really bugs you.
So because we focus a lot on it in our community relations committee.
Yeah.
So is it included or not included in the tree? So we'd still have to, okay.
We have to take it ourselves. I asked that question to see, and they were very specific that it has to be fire damaged, fire-related damage. So if they come out, the arborist will come out and inspect. They'll say, yeah, you should take it, but we're not going to include it in the program.
So I'm curious how the town's going to do that. If they come across a tree that's going to be dead or dying, but it's not fire damaged,
Well,
are they going
That's
to
gonna be
require
up-
it to be removed?
It's going to be up to, it's going to be, the state's going to be the one inspecting.
Right.
And so it's going to be up to the state on how they relay that information back.
So I had a conversation with one of the ladies from Butte County, and my question was, do I need to submit my vacant lot because I had it cleared corner to corner and there are no trees, no indigenous trees, no ornamental trees? And she said yes, because that has to be verified. And I said, at my interim house, all I have are some ornamental trees out front. And she said the evaluation will be by an arborist, and if he believes that it's unsafe within the next 5 years, it's coming out.
That's correct.
She didn't tell me that it had to be by fire. She said if it is sick or dying within the next 5 years, that it's coming out.
That's good news, but
I
So
think
I
they're
don't-
going to take it.
There's a lot of,
every sickly tree.
Yeah, I asked the Cal US representative that's running the
I mean,
program.
that sounded like a clear cut to me. It's like pave paradise and put up a parking lot.
No, it has to be fire-related damage for the state to remove it through their program. So
Interesting.
yeah. One big thing from our standpoint, from PID's operational standpoint, is safety. We know that there's going to be people out there that are private owners that they think they have the ability to cut down their own trees. There is no requirement for a licensing or any other type of certificate. So we have told our employees, if you hear a chainsaw, to identify it where it is, to look at if the situation and if it's unsafe to leave the area. So that's what we've told all of our employees. So use your ears and use your eyes, and if it's unsafe, get out of there. The last thing we want is a homeowner, and let that thing go. So
It sounds like a lumberjack competition around town.
It does.
I guess there's YouTube videos out there on how to take your own trees down.
I heard about that. It's frightening.
The other thing too is the slash will be left behind. So what that could be one of an issue for us as PID is that piles of slash being left on the side of the street, on the side of the road, burying meters, getting in the way of our production could be another issue too. So that we're trying to work through those processes. I have some more information. One big thing is that we just got word from the Cal OES Hazard Mitigation Grant folks that we are basically approved. We just went through a conference call over the environmental folks for our A-zone pipeline generator upgrade. So I'll remind everybody that I think Mark might have been the only one here, is that we submitted through the 2017 fire-related FEMA declaration, the Sonoma fire, a hazard mitigation grant to put in a new generator at the plant, a new pump station at the plant, a pipeline, a redundant pipeline from the plant all the way down Skyway to intersect into the A-zone pump station, to be able to feed A-zone without having it to come out of the B-res. And that would actually increase the B-res's capacity to use the full capacity, which is, and right now we can only use 2 million of the 3 million. That would open up the full 3 million. It also would bypass our creek crossing for our raw water storage that now goes over the creek. So our spillway goes this way and then goes this way, and it goes right over the top of that raw water pipeline. And it would actually take that out of play and just run a pipe through our parking lot, basically, into the treatment plant. And we were on the crux of getting approved before the fire. Other disasters happened. We were kind of told that we were kind of on lower priority for getting that grant approved. The fire happened, and we really haven't heard much from them. But I guess behind the scenes, they were pushing it through. And so now we've been approved for that. The B-res is actually included in that grant too. So we're figuring out how to use that to maybe use those monies to expand. So that's kind of a new wrinkle in this that we just found out today. And so we're now working through that. Sammy has 100% design plans already done. He's already gone through the CEQA process. So we could kind of really fast track this project to get this accomplished. The one thing with hazard mitigation is it's a 75-25 cost share. So now it's on us to go out fighting 25% to cost share that. I know Department of Water Resources has money out there. There's, I'm not sure if you know, USDA, I don't know if you can.
Community facilities.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So we can maybe balance that. I just got a call from them last week that they have funds available. They just got allocated their funds. So I'm going to really push on them to see if they can do the 25% and have the 75 through the hazard mitigation grants. So good news.
Yeah,
That's a $15 million grant.
So question on the generators. Are we purchasing the ones that don't rely 100% on another resource? Meaning, like, are we natural gas? You know where I'm going with this.
It's going to be diesel.
Okay.
Yeah. We have one natural gas, which is the A-zone pump, which we definitely need to look at getting replaced or getting an additional backup there, because as we find out, when they shut gas or shut power off during a fire, they shut the gas off. Yeah. So, and so the diesel generator there currently is very old. Right now it does handle the production for the plant, but with the new A-zone pump station that will be in place, it wouldn't handle the full production, power production for the plant. So that's why there's necessary for a new generator, plus we need a new generator there.
How many hours do they run without refueling?
We didn't know that question until the fire. And so I asked Bill that question, and he thinks he can get 10 days on it without refilling.
Really?
Yeah. We had 3-day fills going during the fire, and he said that it wasn't necessary. So, and this one I think is about the same. We've run this one for about 7 days straight, and I don't think we've had to refill it. So, yeah, pretty efficient.
That's Great.
Yeah. Okay. NPDS permit, that's now kind of been put on the radar. They have restarted the NPDS permit. They're in the process of writing us a conditional permit, and all of the data that was collected pre-fire is still in good use, and we've submitted that all to the water board for them to look at, and our consultant, which is Waterworks Engineering, along with Larry Walker, there it is. Thank you. I knew it was a name of a person, is working conjointly to get that information over to them. We're hoping that we have our permit done by April. So that would be wonderful. PRES, Magalia Dam, we'll talk about that at a later. And then I have been spending a lot of time on looking outside of our business model at other opportunities. I've talked to the Miocene Canal Coalition to talk to them about advantages of if there's an opportunity for us to take it over, for them to be part of that process with us. I've been at a few of their meetings to try to help them get a temporary solution. I've also been in contact with others about getting this feasibility study funded. At this point, it's still kind of in a coma, is what I would say. It's not dead, but it's not moving. And that it continues to be a very political hot topic. We've gotten support from multiple organizations out there, including the Farm Bureau, including legislators, including labor organizations that are willing and wanting to support it. And we're kind of letting the politics we kind of want to just strip the politics out a little bit, I don't know if that's going to happen, but right now that's where we're at. What's anything else on that?
Kevin, did you happen to go to that meeting yesterday, the county meeting? Anything to report on that water meeting?
Yes, there is something to report. That it was recommended that it be pushed to the Water Commission to look at. So that was a positive approach.
You're talking.
Yes. So Matt Tennis, who's on the Water Commission, made a plea to the board to have it looked at the Water Commission, and then the Water Commission give a recommendation back to the board. It was approved by a 3-2 vote. So
That call I sent you this week, is that anything you want to talk about?
Sure. I got to remember the name of the organization, but there's I don't think it's called Friends of Butte Creek, but it's a powerhouse that is actually above DeSablo, and they actually use very similar water that DeSablo does to generate power, and they have water on that West Branch diversion over to
Forks of Butte?
There it is, Forks of Butte. I've had conversations with them in the past about them. They were interested in the DeSablo and the Miocene early on, about us partnering with them on the water provider, being a water provider and working with them on the water. They contacted us because they heard of the Intertie project, about having an opportunity maybe to deliver excess water to us to be able to help support the Intertie project when water is necessary to be supplemented to help Chico. So I have a call into them, and we'll be meeting here shortly, probably after the holidays, to talk about what kind of possibilities there is there. So, yeah.
He just seemed open to.
He's very excited.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wants to be involved.
Yeah. So there are I believe it's two retired Chico State professors that actually started that and has had pretty good success with that power project up there. So, yeah. We're also going to start looking at, as we work through the winter and see how the winter works, to look at maybe looking for customers for a raw water sale. So, because we know the Intertie is not going to be built in a day, that we'll look at maybe if there's an opportunity to do a one-time water sale to a customer in the valley or down south or however it is, to try to leverage our asset to get some revenue in from that. As you can, if you've driven up to the lake, you can see it's very, very full. I think that's where we are. Any questions?
Great. Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you.
Okay, I guess we can move on here. To number 8, notice of proposed settlement.
Yep. So, notice of proposed settlement of class action and final fairness hearing in the matter of Neil Essa et al. Versus Paradise Irrigation District et al. A class action settlement involving FTJ Fund Choice LLC, Dean Cook, and Rick Moots will provide cash deposits and non-monetary relief to participants and beneficiaries of the 401A and 457B retirement plans of Paradise Irrigation District who qualify as class members. The class settlement notice is provided in the back for anybody that would like to grab one.
Okay. That's that item. Thank you very much for reading that.
Yep.
Okay, number 9, Treasurer's Report. Ross.
All right. So I have a fairly quick treasurer's report for you guys this month. As of the end of last month, total cash position was at $7,816,000. It's down about $1.14 million from last month. Debt service analysis. So we haven't had any debt service payments this month. Our next payments are not due until April and May of next year. Continuing to process customer disconnects. They continue to slow down, though, is the good news. So we're up to a total of 2,029 disconnects. It's up about 51 from last month. Continuing to collect revenues for interim water supply installation, up to a total of 1,402 total requests for a total revenue of $496,000. But again, that's just offsetting the costs related to those. So, for fire flow testing, we're up about 51 fire flow test requests from last month, for a total of 439, and just about $40,000 in related fees collected for those. Continuing to work with State of California, FEMA, and insurance to fund the recovery project. The big kind of pushes this last month have been for insurance. So we're working on, actually I just submitted today the final information request for business interruption insurance. So that's a $3.5 million claim that we're hoping to see possibly this next month, is what we're being told currently. And then the other big one is our equipment replacement claim. It's about $413,000. Same thing, we're looking at about next month for that to come through. So that's
Ross, do we have to replace the equipment with that money? In other words, or, okay, because maybe our needs are less now than they were before the fire, right?
Yeah. So what we're looking to do is take that money and apply it to not replace all the equipment that we previously had, because we obviously don't need that much, but I think we're looking at 4 or 5 pieces of equipment total.
Yeah, and so we're actually looking at maybe getting another vac truck instead of replacing it with all the backhoes that we had. The vac truck seems to be the go-to piece of equipment. We actually have 2 on site right now. We're renting another one because it was needed so much out there. The other thing too with the equipment is we're working through the FEMA process on the equipment. The state of California in 2016 changed the requirements for off-road vehicle emissions. So you have to have a Tier 4 engine. All of our equipment was purchased in 2008 with the retrofits to kind of clean the emissions. And so what our insurance will do is reimburse us for the 2008 and the retrofit at a depreciated value. But we can't go out and buy a 2008 because it's not up to codes and standards. So we're working through the FEMA process to actually cover that gap for the codes and standards upgrades for those pieces of equipment. So we're working through that pricing portion right now to take our insurance proceeds, take the FEMA 406, or it's not 406, it's just codes and upgrade portion to get that additional amount for our equipment repurchase for those off-road or whatever they're called, over-the-road tractors or whatever they're called, to be compliant with that.
Old habits.
And that's actually all I had on the report. Happy to answer any other questions you guys have, though, at this point.
I hate to ask another question, but I'm going to. It looks like, Ross, it looks like we're going to have a surplus going into next year, right? Oh, I'm sorry. It won't be. Our fiscal year goes, I'm sorry. Okay, forget that question. But, okay, it's still a valid question. What if we did have a surplus, let's say June 30th? Can we carry that over, or is that?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, from the state funding is what I was getting at.
There is no restrictions on the state funding, so there's no going to be ask back like if you're a school and you don't spend all your money.
Right.
They ask.
That's what I was wondering.
There's no ask back. The only thing that we're required to do is to do the consolidation study, which I'll give you a little quick brief on that. I've had a sit down with Division of Drinking Water, who is supposed to be the one issuing the consolidation study or managing it. It's very what they call holistic. So it's looking at how to keep PID whole. It's not looking at getting somebody to take over PID. They're looking at trying to do it in a facet, because this is the first time this type of study is being done in the state, to try to do it to where they can take this model and move it around the state to another organization that might have the same issue as we do. So they're going to bring in economists, they're going to bring in engineers, they're going to bring in people looking at outside areas of where we can generate revenue, maybe cut expenses, to look at it from a very holistic standpoint, not just from what they call an SB 88, which is like a forced consolidation from what they do down in the valley. If there's a little water district that can't afford to upgrade their system to meet water quality standards, they look to basically have a takeover of a larger district. This is not how that consolidation is going to be done. It's going to be run through, I believe, Sac State, and then Sac State will then be the one that issues out for the subs to be brought in to help with the study. So that's where we're at with it. We even had a kickoff meeting. They just got their funding last week, which they received $500,000 to do the study. And so that's where we're at with it at this point in time. So we're hoping that it's a very holistic, looking at all options for PID going forward.
And it's not like we really have a revenue. It just kind of came out of sequence, didn't it? I mean, as far as having money to carry over.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's a one-time plop, and then we're going to get another one-time plop.
Okay.
And then that's where, so that money we're looking to push as far as we possibly can.
Thank you. Okay, well, thank you, Ross. Appreciate it. I guess we can move on here.
You need a motion.
Oh, right, a motion to approve. Okay. Treasurer's report. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the treasurer's report.
No second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you for the reminder.
You're welcome.
Okay. So we're on expense approval report, check report.
I did want to point out a few checks written this month. We had quite a few expenses for our mutual aid partners. So we had Rancho California Water District, $194,000. Fallbrook, Public Utility District, $19,000. Cobb Area County, $13,000, and Padre Dam, $9,300. And we also had the first payment to our public assistance consultants. So those invoices are starting to come in regularly now. The first one here is listed under Aptum, $59,700.
So the mutual aid will be covered under emergency response, under our FEMA claim, and then the Aptum is under our administrative costs, any project that's obligated.
What's the percentage of reimbursement from FEMA for mutual aid? Do you recall?
It is 90%, and then 7.5 comes from the state, so our portion, local share is 2.5. But we have,
Well worth it.
you can use donated resources for your local share cost if you can prove out donated resources, which based on its Cat B stuff that we're paying for, so we can use bottled water as our donated resource to cover our local share cost.
Oh, wow.
So we're gathering all the bottled water donations as our local share cost of donated resources for Cat B.
That's great.
Wow.
Good deal.
Well, all I got to say, Ross, is your hand must have been tired after signing all these checks, because one point, this is the first time I think I've seen it over. Is it the first time over $1 million
For a long,
payments?
long time.
I know. I don't remember it.
Back before you were on, there were a couple times over $1 million. We were writing some big checks to consult.
That was that big spending balloon, right?
That's why you're on board.
Anyway, thank you. Any other questions?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay. Do we have a?
All second?
I'm going to get it before.
Okay. Do we have to read the entire?
I'll make. Yeah,
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the expense approval report as stated in the agenda.
Very good. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'll second it. and then-
Oh, second. Yeah. Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Keep president.
You know what you meant.
It's only 8:00 too.
It does.
Okay. Legal report, Emily.
Have a quick legal report for open session. Kevin and I have been working with Parks and Rec and their legal counsel to start generating draft lease document for the lake. So Parks and Rec's counsel has prepared a draft. Kevin and I are looking at it, also looking at some permitting issues, making sure that all those are resolved and approved before we bring that to you. And I think we're looking to do that in January.
Correct. Yeah.
Moving ahead.
Yep. Great. And then the rest is closed.
Okay. Thank you very much. Okay, and now we can go to 12 committee reports. First one, Town PAD Liaison Committee. Greg was there with me, and Greg, you want to talk about that meeting at all? Or?
Please?
No? Okay. No, actually, it was an informative meeting. It was interesting that the town has disclosed that they have no idea when they're going to work on the roads, but they want us to make sure that we're doing our repairs correctly. That when they do the roads, they want to make sure that we've got all our taps into the line so we don't have to rip into the road again later. But yet they don't have no idea when they're going to do that. They talked about our sewer system briefly, and I kind of asked them about their definition of their sewer system. I got a dirty look when I asked them that. But the fact is that I don't think they should be throwing the term sewer system around if they're not putting in a sewer system. My personal opinion. Other than that, what else? I'm missing some other stuff there, but
Yeah, they talked about the tree program coming up a little bit, and they did. One thing that Kevin can talk to is they asked to be included in the feasibility study as a potential.
because
As a
they want to
partner?
make sure they can take us.
They want to be included as a option of consolidation if it makes financial sense for us to consolidate with the town, which I told them I'm not afraid of looking at it because I'm confident in what we're doing and that it makes financial sense of where we're at. But it would be an option that the Division of Drinking Water could look at as an opportunity. It's not an easy decision, and I think it's for a further discussion about what the pros and cons are of something like that. But it has become a underlying political issue with some of the board members or the town council members and their spouses. Let me just put it at that.
Yeah. But the bottom line on that, right, is it is the voters' decision to make it, right? The people who own Paradise Irrigation District, they have to vote on that. I mean, it would be more than a board.
I don't know if it's a voter approved. That's a Dustin question or Emily question. I don't know if she can answer that right off the top of her head. But it's a LAFCO issue also. So LAFCO really has the end result on that. LAFCO has put their foot into some of our processes before we feel like it was necessary recently. So I'm not sure where LAFCO is at on this, and that it was part of a LAFCO board meeting as our Intertie project was on their agenda, that I got notification on Monday that it was going to be on Wednesday, which I was out of town, so I wasn't able to go. So I just don't know what the feel and who's talking to who and where it all is at the point.
But ultimately, there'd have to be some public meetings and public
Absolutely.
input. So,
It's not an easy thing to do.
yeah.
They just want to make sure they're included in
Yeah.
conversations.
We will.
Okay. Well, that was kind of the gist of it, I think. So.
Thanks for attending that for me.
I enjoyed it. So.
Great.
It's fun.
And then we also had a community relations meeting,
We did.
and Kelly, talk to
I don't have my notes, so I'm going to remember from the top of my, I have the agenda.
Okay.
So we talked about an update on the demonstration garden, and we're still hoping to get that tree removed.
Chainsaw. Just
what's going to
Fine.
take.
And a video on Netflix. Yeah, and a video on YouTube.
Oh, I know you can. I have
And we had some discussion about how to secure the products needed to build the shed, for lack of it's really a three-sided shed. And I think we have some potential. Ward's done a lot of networking in the community, trying to find some resources for us. And so we also brainstormed potential volunteers or who could help construct it, and how long do we think it would take. Then we also talked about the PID newsletter, which I think continuing to give Mickey credit, because she's done an outstanding job
We
in
liked it.
pulling that information. Yes. And then the bottled water distribution outreach. So we talked about that. We brainstormed some ideas and suggestions. And am I okay to say anything? Yes. So Mickey found out today that she had written a grant to the North Valley Community Foundation and the Butte Strong Fund, and was awarded $25,500 to purchase the jugs that we'll be able to distribute to the community for filling, to get away from the individual bottles. Wow. It's a big deal.
Yeah.
And so Mickey's going to be working on that and coordinating where those. How many, Mickey? How many jugs did you budget for? 1,000 5-gallon water jugs that are the nice, heavy, not like throwaway.
No, they're nice.
Very nice. So that's really exciting.
great.
And
Very
so
cool.
Mickey did that, and I'm really pleased. So good job.
Those people that are coming down here are going to be so happy that are filling up every day or every other day.
Yeah, and they'll get that for free. That's going to be really exciting. I hope that Paradise Post or someone will do a nice article about that.
I agree.
So we also spent quite a bit of time brainstorming how we can increase consumer confidence in the water now that, as we heard tonight, things are looking up, and the water is good, and we need to figure out how we can really increase the consumer confidence. And we pitched out some ideas like perhaps we need to have some customers do videos. We could do videos showing, we're drinking the water, this is the process. I wrote myself a note that I think it would also be really helpful to do a video on what Mike reported out tonight, that whole process.
Yes.
And, even if it's just little 5 minute, I think, attention span gets gone after about 3 to 5 minutes. So, but there's some great opportunity for us to really increase the consumer confidence. So I think that was, and we didn't, well, you gave a small customer service update because Aaron wasn't with us. Or maybe it was Georgianne. I can't remember who did it, but, and that was it. So.
Well, we also talked about contacting possibly the zone captains for
yes,
evacuation,
that's right.
and getting them involved in the area, with water. In
Yes.
other words, get them in the know, and then they can spread the information to the residents in their area, in their zone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. I forgot that.
No, I have it written down.
Another thing too is, I don't know if you saw it, Mickey did a great press conference at the town about the water being clean and how we've always been producing clean water,
Right.
and where we are discovering where the contamination was and how we're dealing with that and how much progress has been completed. She did an outstanding job on that.
My 2 cents on that, that presentation that would be great with the link on the PID website. As a real estate agent, the first question I get out of anybody coming from out of town is, I heard the water's bad, and I've been referring them to the maps. But it would really be nice to be able to send them to a link where they could see the video, to show the process and where we're at with the process. It's great to tell everybody around here that the water is good, but everybody outside of Paradise is out there saying, I ain't going up there, that water's bad. So we need really to go outreach further than just here. So
That's a good point.
Yeah, and
I'm working on a plan for that. We have a lot of good ideas. We're gonna probably hit it hard after Christmas, so coming in January. So,
Cal OES is looking to do.
yeah, Cal OES is gonna help us do a video. We have some small groups that we're looking at planning with the zone captains, and that will be for the internal. But we also have some opportunities because we have our consumer confidence report, which usually comes out in June. It's going to be real timely for messages, and so we're thinking of developing a really nice brochure so that escrow companies, realtors, everybody has this and everybody knows the process. So, and we really kind of want to focus on how we really did it focused on the customer, So, and that's something I've been really proud of this district and this board, that they never stopped caring about, what it was like for their neighbors and friends, and I think really that's the story to tell. So I'm really excited to be able to be part of telling the good story of how we did it.
Yeah. One of the things we also did kind of brainstorm out in pros and cons discussion was whether we needed to potentially look at contracting with someone to help, because it is such a significant lift. But Mickey, I think, really helped us to understand that we have some resources that we feel confident, and we can always reevaluate before we go to added expense when we're trying to really keep cost down. So,
Maybe the university could offer some support in the communications department or something like that. Never
yeah,
know.
they're
Never
not,
know.
they charge a cost usually, but it's a lot cheaper than,
Yeah.
So anyway, it was a positive.
Thank you. And thanks again for the hats. I want the public to see this. We got some hats for the employees now.
Yeah.
And so they're really great. So maybe you'll see some of the workers out in the field with these new hats on. So they're going to wear them proud, I hope.
They were were sporting them today.
Thank you,
see
Mickey.
yours.
Thank you for
Mine?
that.
Can't see me wearing it?
It's Cam.
You can't see me because it's camo. That's, yeah, I get it. Whew, it's late.
Okay, I guess we can go to unfinished business. PID commercial property, Kevin. Or
Pass it over to
Ross.
Ross.
Yeah. So last meeting, we were discussing the rental property at 6360 Clark. So we went out and got an estimate on the fair value, sales price of that property versus what we could potentially rent it out for. What we're looking at fair value-wise on the sale price is anywhere between $165,000 and $185,000. Comparing that to rental price per square foot, our estimates were 75 cents to $1.10 per square foot, which equates to about $1,100 to $1,600 per month. So to put that kind of into an investment perspective, if you were to rent that property out at even just at the low estimate, you're looking at about $13,000 a year. The fair value of that property, taking the middle ground, is $175,000. So for that investment, you're looking at just over a 7% return on that property. If you were to take that sales price and go try to invest that somewhere else, given our investment policy caps our investment term at 5 years, it would potentially be kind of difficult to find that kind of return out there in that short-term investment. To put that into further perspective, where we're putting a lot of our money right now is a local agency investment fund, which is a pooled fund for local agencies, provides a lot of liquidity, and that rate right now is 2.13%. So that's kind of where we're at with that. I think on that we're looking for direction, I guess, on where to go, if we want to rent it, sell it, or...
Do you take into account vacancy levels and
So no, that would be another thing to take.
there's other.
Right, we've had pretty good luck with occupancy, and according to who we talked to, there's a lot of pressure on commercial rental. There's not a lot out there right now, so we feel like we have a pretty good opportunity to get it filled pretty quickly. So that's, and where, who knows how long it'll be on the market before it was sold also at that price too. So.
And you aren't going to be able to likely put a renter in it while it's on the market to fill the gap.
No.
And PID, we own it outright?
Yep. And a few of the other questions were about our insurance, how much it costs for insurance. But
Yeah, so the insurance cost, since it's a pooled insurance for our property, it's really low. It's $144 a year. What we're looking at-
$144 a year?
Yeah.
not that possible.
Crazy.
Right.
Yeah. Hold that insurance.
Same as-
And the way we wrote that lease agreement, we didn't really have to do anything. It was crazy. I mean, they did all the improvements. They maintained the grounds.
Well, on a commercial lease, that's typical.
Oh, is
You
it?
should-
Oh, okay.
you should- On a commercial lease,
Yeah.
the landlord really should wash their hands of it. So, yeah.
Yeah.
They did a lot of tenant improvements in there.
Right.
Inside.
It's typical, yeah.
Okay.
And so they're completely out now. And so when I drove by a couple times this week, I was like, oh, it still says so. Yeah, scrape it.
It's kind of a cool building, actually.
It
If you've
is.
ever been in there, it's kind of
Used to be a florist years ago.
yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Originally.
Do you use a property management company to manage it, or do you manage it in-house?
Previously, what we did was we used a property management company to find a tenant, and then we managed it in-house. We're open to suggestions. Obviously, we have an expert on the panel here.
So currently, I don't believe there's any property managers on the Ridge. I know there's a couple of rumors of people coming back up here to do it, but
I think we got 3.
One of the 3 had moved to Chico. There were 2 that I've heard, and I've heard.
There was one that they said.
CB.
CB's
Right, that one's
CCB
gone.
is closing.
Ponderosa, are they back with it?
What's his? Simplicity.
Did their office survive there?
Zuccolello's starting
He's
to
doing
manage.
property management now. And then there was one.
Forget the third one.
Yeah. So, There is some coming back that we could probably look at using if we wanted to.
They might be looking for a space to rent.
Hey,
They might
that's the perfect segue right there.
rent
We have a place for you.
really feelers into the town manager, because I guess he's getting a lot of requests for rentals of businesses or government agencies that are looking to come up and rent. So I said, hey, we got a piece of property that's perfect, and so she might be helping us also get tenants in
Wow.
there.
Chamber of Commerce, too.
Chamber of Commerce,
I
yeah.
can talk to Monica, yeah, and see if, so we could try to see what we can do on our own. It does save quite
Test
a
the
bit of
waters.
money to do it on your own. And the form is pretty straightforward, I think.
The form itself is actually purchasable, by an organization, so.
Yeah.
So they are available.
Okay. So we're open to direction on how you guys would like to see it kind of managed.
I would move to rent it with legal review
And with the in-house? or-
in-house,
Okay, in-house kind of advertising.
primarily due to shortage of options.
Okay.
Well,
So
there's
we'll-
cost associated with it too.
We'll reach out to Chamber of Commerce, and if you guys think of somebody that
Yeah.
you can reach out to also, let's spread the word. We could put a for rent sign out in front there and to get people interested, have them come to the office and talk about it.
Great idea.
And,
That's simple enough.
How do we normally handle, like, if to set a price? Do we do that in open session? Is that close? Yeah.
I suppose you can discuss it in closed under direction of property negotiator.
But do we need to?
Well, I think what you would do at this point is solicit interest, see what you get, and then,
But what if they say, what's the rent?
fair enough.
Can we give them, so could we could I modify Director Hansen's motion to say that we rent with a stipulated rent between the fair market of $1,100 a month and, what was it? What did you say? Ross?
11 to 16.
So we have a range, and then we could,
No, I think that'll do it.
okay, do you want me to say that nicer, so? So,
Can I just withdraw my motion? Okay, go for it.
okay, so I would make a motion to rent the property located at 6360 Clark Road with, giving Kevin, latitude to negotiate between $1,100 to $1,600 per month when a potential tenant is secured.
I second.
Second on that? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. That's great. Okay, new business.
Just. No, I'll do it. Okay, never mind.
Did we miss something?
No, I'll just inform you that the CVU was managing the house from a residential standpoint, which they're no longer are going to be managing it, so we'll probably in the interim bring it in-house to manage it ourselves with the tenants as a residential tenant. So.
Did we sustain
I'm
any
confused.
damage on either structure?
Smoke damage.
Okay,
It's all been
just
cleaned.
the cleaning. Okay.
The house, is that a different house than what we're just talking about? Okay,
So we have a commercial, which is the red.
but it's not on the agenda.
I know.
Yeah, sorry.
It's only informational.
That's why he said never mind.
Okay.
No action shall be taken.
Okay. Okay.
New business.
I get the stink eye from Emily.
She's a direct line of sight. Yeah.
That's why I didn't like that.
I know. Whenever his chair goes like this,
Yeah.
Then you know.
Okay.
She can't kick me. She has to
I
kick
can't anymore. I know.
Right.
Your shield.
All right, new business number 14. How about?
Okay, this is a resolution to accept the hazard mitigation annex that we have as part of the local hazard mitigation plan for Butte County. The significance of this and being part of this is that without having an annex or being part of the hazard mitigation plan, you're not eligible for the hazard mitigation grants, which we have multiple applications in for this disaster, and we received the one or hoping to receive the one for the previous disasters. So it's just a resolution of acceptance of our annex.
Okay, do we have to make a motion for this, or is this, you don't have to do this whole thing, do it? Whereas?
No, you don't have to read it out loud.
I do have one question, though.
Go for it.
I was just, and when you read through, I was trying to find the page, page 69, I was just curious, and you may or may not know this, under wildfire, for the vulnerability index, it has us at extremely high, and I was just curious, were we rated at extremely high pre-campfire?
You were.
Okay,
Yep. Extremely high. I don't, and likely.
okay.
Yeah, I think both.
Well, I mean, when you see all red,
All red, yeah.
pretty telling, but that was my only question.
Yep.
Just curious.
Yeah, no, that's good.
And does this become part of the county plan, this annex, right?
Yeah, we
Okay.
become, what are we, F? Yeah, we're Annex F in the county plan.
Okay.
The county has their plan, and then each
Special
district or city has their own.
Has their
annex,
own.
and then- Yep.
Okay.
I have to. Look
You. Survivor.
I'm the only one in there.
Right. He's not in the red.
You're not in the red.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve?
I would like to make a motion that we accept the resolution as 2019-09.
I'll make a motion, or I second.
All those in favor?
Nope, roll call.
Roll call.
Oh, sorry.
Roll call, sorry.
Director Vance?
Aye.
Director Boston? Aye.
Director Bowers? President Sillett?
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah, and I want to thank the county. The county's consultant was extremely helpful for me to get this thing accomplished in a very short time period with a lot of detail and information in it. So I appreciate the county's support and the consultant's support on this.
It's very thorough.
Oh, thank you. Well, I thank your consultant too that helped you guys. She was good, really good.
Good.
Okay.
Professional engineering services?
So we are required to do annual dam surveillance every year. We are actually behind on it at this point. There's not a lot of professional dam engineers out there. And so Gentera has been supporting us in the last pre-fire on a lot of our inspections and spillway situation, and has helped us post-fire to help with some of the spillway issues that we were going through, but also looking at stability and piezometers. And so we also need to get our dams inspected for fire-related damage, which is a insurance reimbursable expense. And so we felt it was appropriate to, at this point, with all of the information that they have and them getting up to speed quickly on this, to sole source it to Gentera for the 2 years of dam inspections, and included that also with the fire-related damage inspection for $29,960.
And the state was asking for this inspection as well, right?
Correct.
Yes. Okay.
It's required.
Any questions?
How confident that the 170 hours that they're estimating in this letter, they'll be able to complete the inspections, or are we going to have change orders coming?
I feel very confident in their bid document, and I don't believe we've seen very many change orders from this firm. They're pretty good about holding firm to their hours, and again, with their previous knowledge of the dam, with all of their schematics they already have in-house, I feel that's probably a sufficient amount of time to be able to get this accomplished.
They also said they were going to do the initial inspections in December. You think they can do it in December? We got 2 weeks left here. Are they really going to?
We'll see.
Okay.
Not early January.
It just seemed like, the schedule was a little
Very
tight there.
aggressive.
A little tight, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, I guess we can, do we have a motion?
So I move to approve the proposal to authorize the district manager to execute an agreement with Katera Consultants, Inc. to provide professional engineering services for the years 2019, 2020 for a cost not to exceed $29,960
With legal review.
with legal review.
There you go.
I'll second it.
Okay, we had a second down here, Jordan. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes, thank you. Okay, I guess district organization, we'll put that off to another agenda.
Yeah, and I just want to kind of say, it is something that we will look at, obviously. We're going to, once we get through March, you can see kind of where the personnel are being used at this point. We got 14 full-time individuals that are working on the sampling and clearing of standing homes. Once that's done, we got to really look at our business model of what we look like. And I'm not saying that there's going to be cuts, but I think we need to look at where people are working, look at some of their job descriptions, because I can tell you right now, most of the people are not working within their job description of what they were hired for. And then looking at the personnel to see how much we really need to move the district forward. And maybe we need more, maybe we need less. But I think we need to look at it globally at an organizational level to see kind of what the district looks like after March.
What's your timeline? So after March?
Yep.
Okay.
Will the state feasibility study get into the weeds of that, actually?
We're going to ask them to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So my thought is to have them not only look at the expenses, organizational structure of the district, to see if there's efficiencies that can be gained there, but also to look at our revenue side of things. To maybe they give us the ability to say, well, if we need to make cuts here or we need to raise rates here, that it gives us a little power to go to the public to say, hey, we need to raise rates if this is something that we want to keep local. Here's what the study is telling us as a monthly charge to those individuals, or vice versa if we have to go back to labor or to any of our other bargaining units, that we have some backup to that. So I've asked for that to be kind of a part of the financial calculations of the feasibility study.
But Kevin, when you're talking about people working outside of their current job description, I would assume that all the job descriptions say other duties as assigned?
They do.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I do have a question with this. So we have a vacant engineer drafter and a vacant assistant engineer. Are we looking to fill those positions, or?
After March. Okay. I think it's something we need to look at. I do believe an in-house engineer would benefit the district, but we also can see what that looks like from a contracting standpoint. Right now, our engineer has been Waterworks.
Sammy.
Yeah, and so they've kind of handled that position at this point. But just to kind of look at that to see where we need to focus our funds at, to see if maybe we can keep it on the outside or if we need to have somebody full-time.
So we're going to bring this topic back when Director Kellogg is here?
Correct. And I think it's just not so much bringing this back, but looking at a strategic business plan model to kind of focus on what we see the district going forward after quote-unquote recovery is kind of completed. So
maybe we could even put it off a little bit further down until March or something, like you're saying.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think we need to make any moves at this point.
Okay.
I think we got plenty of people working really, really hard.
Very good. Thank you. Okay, director's comments. Greg, would you like to?
Yeah, so a couple of things. One, you talked about a special meeting coming up. I ask that it to be after the holidays at the earliest.
December 25th work for you?
If you don't mind me being on a conference call. Yeah, I'm going to be gone as of tomorrow evening through January 4th. So
it will not be before that because
Perfect.
I'll be
Okay.
on the same page as you. I probably won't be here either. So
And then I also wanted to wish everybody a happy holidays, happy Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Be safe, be sound.
That's great, thank you.
That was it.
You too.
Dan, would you have anything to?
I just wanted to speak to the staff and the crews. I mean, everybody, I'm just thoroughly impressed to be a part of this whole thing. What Mickey does with the media, I've seen Sutton out working. They bought into this town. They are pride. The pride I see is amazing, and they enjoy working with the crews and the inspectors. I'm just thoroughly impressed with PID as a whole.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Jody?
I would second Director Hansen's comments, and I agree, Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays, and I look forward to next year.
Thank you, Shelby. And I had a parting president's message prepared. Dang.
Save that.
Nice try.
But I just want to say, I do have to say something about this whole last year. And I just feel really honored to be able to have served in this position. And I remember a year ago, we were sitting in the Durham Community Hall, and I have to say that I felt uncertain about things. I really did. I didn't know what the future was going to hold. And but I guess what? We persevered, and this district is moving forward, and we're looking really great, and the employees made it happen, the staff, the management, all our mutual aid people that helped us, everybody involved. I got to thank the state as well, our local reps. Amazing. It's just amazing, because I tell you, it just didn't look good, back a year ago. This evening, I'll even say, it might not have been this exactly a year, but so I'm just very honored to be a part of it. And thank you. Thanks for re-electing me. and happy holidays to everybody.
Thank you.
So I guess we can, go on to a recess, and we're going to reconvene. And we are...
Public Facilities Financing Corporation.
Yes, as the Public Facilities Financing Corporation.
Do you have to do a roll call for that, or?
And if you don't mind, if we could, for the record, do a roll call for that.
Sure.
Director Dan
We're gonna-
Hansen?
Present.
Taking a recess?
We're recessing.
Well, we
yes, the
recessed, but now
regular.
we just...
This will-
we can take a break.
No,
This will be quick.
Oh, okay.
I was just going to fill my
Then you
coffee
can
cup
take
up.
Go for it. Just say, yell that you're here.
Okay.
So Director Dan Hansen.
Present.
Director Shelby Boston.
Present.
President Mark Soul.
Here?
And Director Greg Mallett.
Present.
So, just to give you guys an understanding of what this is, it's a additional corporation that is there to help finance debt for the district. I don't know when this was discovered or brought to fruition to be able to do this, but based on that we're an enterprise fund, we're able to do what they call COPs, which are certificates of participation, which means a public facility finance corporation go out and borrow and purchase and build something and issue debt, public debt, and then lease it back to the government agency. What it does is it doesn't require us to go out for a public vote to issue debt. So it allows us to easily finance capital by pledging revenue to issue debt to get capital built. So that's what it's there for. We've used it once since I've been here, and it was to do the meter project for $5 million. But it's something that we need to keep active. To keep active, you have to have a yearly board meeting, which you guys are doing right now. And that's really it.
So, myself and Director Mowers were not a part of these minutes, so really we should abstain from approving them.
There is no requirement to abstain even though you're not part of the minutes. You can still participate in the vote of the minutes of the organization. There's no requirement to abstain. Correct?
Not that I'm aware of,
Yeah. I've heard that from other.
but I haven't looked at it.
Because if you abstain, then we have no quorum.
I know, we have no quorum, and that was why I wrote myself a note, but how do we approve something when we weren't a party to it? I don't know if it's factual.
So,
Well, the minutes really were just an overview of what the Public Facilities Financing Corporation is. So I have that.
I believe, correct me if I'm wrong here, the bias is sustaining, or I can't even talk to this. That acts as a positive vote. I
Not a
believe
quorum,
by the rules, it does.
What acts as a positive vote?
Abstaining, you mean?
Yeah,
Abstaining?
from a vote.
Doesn't give you
I don't
quorum.
believe so, not in the absence of a quorum.
That was one of those funky rules they put because people were abstaining to block
Who put this?
our board members.
Your board
By-
policies say that,
Abstaining is considered an affirmative
Yeah.
of the majority, though.
Right.
So that's
So
the
if they
issue.
both vote,
Yeah.
then then you do have the quorum.
I have to go to the Bible here.
I think I read that somewhere.
It's true.
I'm sure that,
And the background is that people were abstaining in critical situations to create ties to not make things go through.
I'm not trying to do that, I just.
Shelby.
It's a hard push.
I think in this situation, though, if I read that
there.
correctly, in
what's
this
your
situation,
agenda?
our abstaining would be counted as positive votes.
It would be a yes because of the majority.
Yeah, because as long as they both voted to the positive.
Correct.
Yeah.
So
Does it say it?
What's it worth to you?
it's okay for them to abstain then?
Because, I mean, I
I'm
wasn't here, we weren't even on the board.
I hear you, I hear you.
I'm going to send it down to you.
Give it to the attorney.
I care less about that and more about, I'd rather, I mean, keep it here, but I'd rather find an exemption to the attendance requirements than
Government code.
whatever we did there.
I know on other boards I sit on that that's the practice,
Yeah,
so.
I know. I've seen that before. Well, okay, we don't need,
I was just going to say, do you have to have the minutes approved?
no, we can just roll the minutes to next year.
You still convened your meeting.
Right.
You're having your meeting right now.
We just don't have quorum without,
We just
Well,
don't
you just
have-
don't have, you just won't
You
have
have a
approved the
quorum.
minutes.
Okay.
You have a quorum here for attendance today, which
we-
satisfies your obligation?
But we just don't have an approval of the minutes. We'll roll those to the next year.
To the next meeting.
next year.
Next
There's only
year.
Which will be
has to
next year.
One board meeting a year.
Yeah.
I'm comfortable with that.
Good? Okay.
See you in December.
So
Hang on, I want to see that.
let's vote on it. Let's have it at least on record that it was a 2-2 vote with or a 2-0 vote with two abstentions. So if we can get a motion.
I move to approve minutes as,
I second that.
Okay. And
All
that's
those in favor? Aye.
with two abstentions.
I
Okay.
abstain.
Okay.
And abstained.
And we'll find out whether that actually
I was
works.
listed.
You're
I
listed.
was listed.
Must have been your first.
I don't know, it's all a blur. When I saw it in print, I figured it must be true.
That's what I live by, so.
Thank you.
And
It's on the
then
internet.
now we can, if you want to adjourn the meeting.
Okay. So the meeting of the, what is this? The Public Facilities Financing Corporation is hereby
Mark,
closed. Oops, hold on.
Hang on. We had a finger in the air.
Oh, you don't want to adjourn yet? Still doing research?
Well, fairly comfortable that you could approve the minutes because you're not giving an eyewitness account of it. You're just essentially verifying the confidence in your colleagues and the secretary in the preparation. But I don't think you have to do it, so let's just not because of comfort levels.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so the meeting of the Paradise Irrigation District Public Facilities Financing Corporation has been closed. Thank you.
Okay.
And now
Those minutes will be interesting next year.
we can go into closed session. How about that?
One more?
Oh, a little more. Okay.
Gotta read it all.
Yes. Public Employee Performance Evaluation, California Code, Government Code, Section 54957, District Manager. Thank you.
And the other one.
And then you have to do B.
Oh, and then A,
Sorry, he's new.
Public Employee Performance Evaluation, California Government Code, Section 54957, District Manager, already said that.
You already did that one.
Excuse me. Conference with legal counsel, existing litigation, California Government Code, Section 54956.9, Paradise Irrigation District versus Pacific Gas and Electric. Now we can go into closed session.
I am gonna take a comfort break.
Sure, absolutely.
We just say it and it's so?
I keep waiting for you.
That's what we
like,
do in the
bug me
past.
Every time I'm like, Mark, you have to do this. Mark, you have to do this.
If you're not doing it, I am. So
I know.
that was
It's okay.
really
I appreciate it.